You sit on your sofa on a Tuesday evening, swiping through your phone, and you see it. A young man cuts a potato, dips the raw face into gray construction cement, and buries it in a plastic bucket. The video jumps. He takes a heavy sledgehammer and smashes the bucket to plastic shards. Out spills a mountain of perfectly clean, unattached potatoes. It looks exactly like magic. So you try it. 3 months later, you empty your bucket. You find no mountain. You find only black, foul-smelling mud, and the few potatoes that did survive have a sickly green skin. You lost your expensive bucket. You completely wasted your time, and you almost poisoned your own family for a lie. Now I want you to sit with this. There is a way to grow potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket that actually works. It is not a magic trick, and it does not require you to destroy the tools you bought with your hard-earned money. It is a method that honest farmers and careful gardeners have used for generations to feed their families when space was tight or when the ground was too hard to dig. You do not use construction cement because you are growing food, not building a sidewalk. You do not smash the bucket because a bucket is a useful thing that should last you 20 years. You do not grow green potatoes because green potatoes can put a child in the hospital. What I am going to show you today is the true, quiet, patient method of growing potatoes in containers. It requires dirt, a little wood ash from the stove, a few bricks, and an understanding of how a potato actually grows under the earth. It is not a 60-second spectacle. It is farming. And the only reason you were shown the spectacle instead of the farming is that there is an entire modern industry built on stealing your attention, selling you lies, and making you feel like growing your own food is either a circus act or impossible. My name is Daniel Yoder. I am Amish, and I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. My wife, Rebecca, and I have raised our children on the food we pull from this soil, and we preserve it in our root cellar to get us through the long winters. I am going to walk you through the honest way to do this, step by step, the way my grandfather taught me. And I am going to be brutally straight with you about the safety of what you saw in that video. Because growing food is a sacred responsibility, and treating it like a disposable internet trick is something I will not stay quiet about. Let me first address the 2 great lies in that video. Because if I do not give you the safety word right now, the rest of this does not matter. The first lie is the cement. The young man cut a seed potato in half and dipped the wet, raw face of it into construction cement before planting it. Why did he do that? He did it because he heard somewhere that you need to seal the cut face of a potato so it does not rot in the damp earth. That part is true. A raw, wet cut is an open door to fungus and rot. But construction cement is a toxic, highly alkaline industrial material filled with heavy metals and chemical binders. It is meant to cure hard and bear the weight of a truck. When you put cement into your garden soil, you are poisoning the very earth you are trying to pull life from. You are leaching industrial chemicals directly into the root system of a plant you intend to feed to your family. It is madness. It is a profound disrespect for the land and for your own body. The old way, the safe way, the way Rebecca does it when she cuts our seed potatoes, is to use wood ash. Plain cold wood ash swept from the hearth of our wood stove. Or, if you do not have a wood stove, agricultural sulfur, which you can buy for a few dollars at any feed and seed store. When you dip the cut face of a potato into wood ash, the ash acts as a natural desiccant and fungicide. It dries the wound instantly. It creates a dry, protective scab that no soil fungus can penetrate. And as the potato grows, that same wood ash provides potassium and trace minerals to the soil, actually feeding the plant rather than poisoning it. Wood ash seals the wound and nourishes the earth. Cement poisons the earth for the sake of a viral video. The second safety word concerns the green skin on the potatoes. Many of you who tried this bucket method noticed that the potatoes growing near the top of the soil turned a sickly green color. and perhaps you thought nothing of it. I need you to listen to me carefully. The potato belongs to the nightshade family of plants. When the skin of a potato is exposed to sunlight, it produces chlorophyll, which turns it green. But alongside that chlorophyll, it produces a concentrated toxin called solanine. Solanine is a natural defense mechanism the plant uses to keep animals from eating it when it grows out of the dirt. It is a genuine poison. If you or your children eat a green potato, it can cause severe stomach cramps, vomiting, and in serious cases, neurological trouble that puts a person in a hospital bed. A potato must grow in total, absolute darkness. In the fake internet videos, they fill the bucket all the way to the top with dirt on the first day. As the potatoes grow and swell near the surface, they push up into the sunlight. They turn green, and they become toxic. We do not fill the bucket on the first day. We use a method called hilling, and I will explain the beautiful, simple science of hilling in the steps below. It guarantees you will never harvest a green potato, and it doubles your yield in the same amount of space. Now let us walk through the honest recipe. The 5 steps to growing a bucket of clean, safe, heavy potatoes without breaking a single tool or buying a single gimmick. Step 1 is the bucket and the bricks. You need a 5-gallon plastic bucket. Here is the rule. You must use a food-grade bucket, not an old paint bucket, not a bucket that held driveway sealant or industrial solvents. Food-grade plastic, the kind that held pickles or bakery frosting, or a clean, brand-new food-safe bucket from the hardware store. The chemicals from an old paint bucket will leach into your soil under the hot summer sun. Do not grow your supper in a toxic container. Once you have your clean bucket, you must drill holes in the bottom of it. Not one hole, but a half-dozen good-sized holes, about a half-inch across. This is not optional. A potato sitting in standing water will rot into a black, foul-smelling mush within a week. The water must have a way out. And here is the trick. My grandfather taught me that most folks miss. You never set that bucket flat on the ground. You take 2 ordinary clay bricks and you set them on your patio or in your yard, and you rest the bucket on top of them, elevating it an inch or 2 above the earth. Why? 2 reasons. First, gravity. If a bucket sits flat on the mud, the surface tension of the wet earth below it will actually hold the water inside the bucket, keeping the bottom 2 inches of your soil permanently waterlogged. By lifting it onto bricks, the water drips freely out into the open air. The soil breathes. The roots do not drown. Second, ants. If you put a warm bucket of soft, nutrient-rich soil flat on the ground, every colony of ants in your yard will view it as a luxury apartment building. They will tunnel up through the drainage holes, build their nests in the dry pockets of your potting mix. And when you finally go to harvest your potatoes, you will be swarmed by thousands of angry, biting ants. The bricks create an air gap. The ants will not cross the open air to climb up the plastic sides. 2 bricks save your harvest and your hands. Step 2 is the cut and the ash. You start with good seed potatoes, the kind that have begun to sprout little eyes in your pantry. We call it chitting. To save money, you cut the larger potatoes in half, making sure there are at least 2 good eyes on every piece. Now you take your cold wood ash from the stove or your agricultural sulfur, and you spread it on a small plate. You take the wet, freshly cut face of the potato, and you press it firmly into the powder. Coat it entirely. Then you set those pieces aside in a cool, dry place for about 24 hours. You let them sit. You let the air and the ash do their work. By the next day, that cut face will feel like a tough, dry piece of leather. It is sealed, it is safe. It is ready to go into the damp earth without any fear of rot and without a single drop of toxic construction cement. Step 3 is the soil and the hilling, and this is the absolute core of the method. This is the difference between a bucket that yields 3 potatoes and a bucket that yields 15. Do not use heavy, dense yard dirt in a bucket. A bucket is a closed environment. Heavy clay soil will pack down like a brick, and the delicate potato tubers will not have the physical strength to expand. You need a loose, light, fluffy potting mix. We use a mix of well-rotted black cow manure for richness and peat moss or coconut coir for fluffiness. You want soil that you can plunge your bare hand into without resistance. Now hear me closely. You do not fill the bucket. You put only 4 inches of your fluffy soil mixture into the very bottom of the bucket. Just 4 inches. You take 2 of your sealed seed potatoes, just 2, and you lay them on top of that 4-inch bed of dirt, with the sprouted eyes pointing straight up toward the sky. Then you cover them with just enough soil to hide them, perhaps another 2 inches. And then you stop, you walk away. Your bucket is mostly empty. You water it gently, and you wait. In a week or 2, green leafy shoots will emerge from the dirt. You let them grow until they are about 6 inches tall. Then you come back with more of your fluffy soil mix, and you pour it gently into the bucket, burying the stems of those green shoots, leaving only the very top leaves sticking out. You wait again. The plant grows taller. You add more soil, again burying the stem, leaving only the top leaves. You repeat this process, adding soil as the plant climbs, until you finally reach the 10-inch mark near the top of your bucket. This is what we call hilling. Why do we do this? It is the beautiful botany of the potato plant. Potatoes do not grow from the roots. They grow from specialized underground stems called stolons. A potato plant will only send out these stolons from the portion of its main stem that is buried in the dark earth. If you fill the bucket on day 1, the seed potato is buried deep. The stem shoots straight up to the light, and it only produces a few potatoes, right at the very bottom. But if you force the plant to grow upward, constantly burying its new stem with fresh soil, the plant realizes that its stem is in the dark. It sends out stolons horizontally, all along the buried length. By hilling, you are tricking the plant into creating a vertical column of potato-producing stems that runs from the bottom of the bucket all the way to the top. You have turned the entire 5-gallon volume into a potato factory. And the hilling does something else. The safety trick I promised you. When you finally reach the top of the bucket, you leave the last 2 inches completely empty to act as a watering reservoir. But you cover the final layer of soil with a thick mat of straw or wood chips or heavy mulch. As the topmost potatoes swell and push upward, they do not hit the sunlight. They hit the dark, cool underside of that heavy mulch. The mulch acts as an umbrella. No sunlight reaches the skin. No chlorophyll forms. No solanine is produced. Every potato you pull from that bucket will be pale, safe, and wholesome because you understood how the plant works instead of rushing it for a camera. Step 4 is the water and the feed. Potatoes are hungry and thirsty creatures, but they despise sitting in a puddle. This is where your elevated bricks and your drainage holes prove their worth. When you water, you pour the water into that 2-inch empty reservoir at the very top of the bucket. You will watch it pool up for a moment, and then slowly, evenly, it will pull down through the fluffy soil, running past every level of the hilling, watering every stolon, until the excess drips cleanly out the bottom onto the patio. You water deeply, and then you let the top inch of the soil dry out completely before you water again. To feed them, Rebecca likes to sprinkle a handful of bone meal or a good organic tomato fertilizer over the top of the soil right before she waters. The water carries the nutrients down through the column. The bone meal gives them the phosphorus they need to form massive, heavy tubers. It is a quiet, steady rhythm. Water, drain, feed, wait. It is not an instant miracle. It is husbandry. Step 5 is the harvest. And this is where I will ask you to exercise the common sense that the modern internet has abandoned. In the video, the young man took a sledgehammer and shattered a perfectly good plastic bucket to get his potatoes out. I want you to think about the supreme arrogance. the profound wastefulness of that act. A heavy-duty, food-grade 5-gallon bucket costs $5 or $6. It requires oil to manufacture, factories to mold, trucks to ship. It is a durable tool designed to carry water, haul feed, and hold earth for decades. To destroy a tool that could serve your homestead for 20 years, just to retrieve $3 worth of potatoes. A few seconds faster is a sin against thrift and a mockery of honest labor. When your potato plants finally flower, and then the green foliage turns yellow and dies back, your potatoes are ready. You do not need a hammer. You take a clean canvas tarp and you lay it out on the grass. You pick up your bucket, you turn it upside down over the tarp, and you gently tap the bottom. Because you used a fluffy mix of peat moss and compost, and because the soil is not packed down like concrete, the entire contents of the bucket will slide out in one smooth, cylindrical cake. It will look like a giant chocolate muffin. And then you sit on the grass with your children or your grandchildren, and you use your bare hands to gently sift through that soft, cool earth. The potatoes will tumble out, clean, heavy, and perfect. You pull them from the stallings yourself. It is a treasure hunt. It is a joy. And when you are finished, you take your perfectly intact, undamaged bucket. You wipe it clean with a rag, and you stack it in the woodshed, ready to be used again next spring, and the spring after that, and the spring after that. You leave no plastic shards in the soil. You create no trash. You waste nothing. Now I want to take a moment because this is the part that matters most, and it is bigger than potatoes and buckets. Think about who profits from the videos you see on your phone. Think about the economy of the internet hack. The young man with the sledgehammer is not trying to teach you how to feed your family. He is trying to harvest your attention. He needs a spectacle. He needs you to stop scrolling. Cement is a spectacle. Smashing a bucket is a spectacle. A mountain of washed, store-bought potatoes hidden in the dirt before the camera rolls is a spectacle. He gets his million views, he gets his advertising check, and he moves on to the next fake trick. But look at who pays the price. You pay the price. You buy the bucket, you buy the soil. You waste 3 months of your summer tending to a poisoned, waterlogged mess. And the hardware stores, the massive corporations that sell plastic goods, they profit too. They love a culture that treats durable goods as disposable trash. If you smash your bucket in October, you have to buy a new bucket in April. If you build a culture where breaking tools is considered entertainment, you build a culture of perpetual, endless consumption. It is a system designed to strip you of your money, your time, and your self-reliance, while making you feel like you are learning something clever. It is performative gardening. It is farming stripped of its soul and turned into a cheap magic trick. My people do not view food this way. We view the seed as a promise, the soil as a trust, and the harvest as a blessing from the Almighty. When you dip a potato in the ash of the fire that warmed your home all winter, you are participating in a cycle that makes sense. You are taking the waste of the hearth to protect the food of the spring. When you keep a plastic bucket safe and sound for a decade, you are showing respect for the materials of the earth and the labor of the men who made it. The modern world wants everything fast, loud, and disposable. True independence is slow, quiet, and lasting. There is no corporate sponsor for wood ash. There is no viral shock value in waiting 3 months for a plant to grow in the dark. There is no money to be made off a man who buys a bucket once and uses it until he passes it down to his son. The internet hack culture is just the latest version of the traveling snake oil salesman. It promises you a miracle without the work, and it leaves you with a poisoned patch of dirt. The old farmers knew that the work is not the obstacle. The work is the teacher. When you hill the soil, when you measure the water, when you elevate the bricks, you are learning the language of the plant. You are becoming a person who can survive without the grocery store, without the spectacle, and without the lie. So here is what I want you to do this weekend. Turn off the screen and go out into the real world. Go to a farm supply store or a bakery and ask for a food-grade 5-gallon bucket. Do not buy the cheapest, thinnest plastic. Buy one with thick, sturdy walls that will outlast your current address. Bring it home. Take a drill and put 6 good holes in the bottom. Find 2 clay bricks and set them on a sunny patch of your patio. Go to your wood stove or your fire pit and scoop up a handful of cold, clean ash. Cut your chitted potatoes, dip them in the ash, and let them cure on the counter until tomorrow. Tomorrow, mix your compost and your peat moss. Put 4 inches in the bottom of that bucket. Lay your 2 sealed seed potatoes on the dirt, eyes up. Cover them lightly. Water them gently. And then, exercise the hardest and most beautiful skill a modern person can learn. Patience. Wait for the green shoots. Hill them up with soil. Wait again. Watch the plant do exactly what God designed it to do when it is treated with respect. In 3 or 4 months, when the leaves die back, take a tarp out to the yard. Tip your bucket. Marvel at the heavy, perfect, golden potatoes that fall from the soft earth. Wash them, boil them, and serve them to your family with a little butter and salt, knowing that there is not a drop of cement, not a trace of poison, and not a single shattered piece of plastic anywhere in their history. Tell me in the comments below, have you ever been fooled by an internet hack? Have you ever watched a 60-second video, spent your hard-earned money to replicate it, and realized halfway through that you were sold a theatrical lie? Share your stories. Let us know what the trick was, whether it was a building hack, a cooking trick, or a gardening lie. The stories you share serve as a warning to the new folks reading, and they help us all build a defense against the foolishness of the modern spectacle. I read every single one, and the honesty you all bring to this community is the reason I sit down to record these lessons. Next time, since we have been speaking of growing food in small spaces, I am going to show you the old way my grandmother kept tomato hornworms and aphids off her prized heirloom tomatoes without using a single drop of chemical pesticide. It involves a specific cheap flower you plant at the base of the vine and a spray made from something you throw away in your kitchen garbage every morning. It is a method that protects the bees, feeds the soil, and costs absolutely nothing. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, respect the land. Keep your buckets whole. Trust the slow, quiet work. And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.